Throughout history, there have been individuals who have committed heinous crimes involving cannibalism. One human being eating another is a practice that has been documented throughout history, but it is also one of the most taboo and repulsive acts that a human being can commit. Here, we'll explore the top 5 most gruesome cannibal killers in history. At number 5, Albert Fish, also known as the Gray Man and the Brooklyn Vampire. He was an American serial killer who terrorized the East Coast in the 1920s and 1930s. Fish was a sadomasochistic cannibal who preyed on children. He claimed to have cannibalized at least 15 victims, but the true number is unknown. Albert Fish was a sadistic monster who enjoyed causing pain and suffering to his victims. He was a true monster, and his crimes still haunt us to this day. At number 4, ISSEI SAGAWA, a Japanese man who killed and cannibalized a fellow student in Paris in 1981. Despite confessing to the crime, SAGAWA was found legally insane and was deported back to Japan, where he lived as a free man for decades. ISSEI SAGAWA's case is one of the most shocking and disturbing in recent history. He was able to escape punishment for his crimes and lived a life of relative luxury despite being a cannibal. At number 3, ARMIN MEIWES, a German man who became known as the ROTENBURG cannibal. In 2001, he killed and cannibalized a man he had met on the internet. MEIWES was arrested and sentenced to life in prison for his crimes, but the case raised questions about the limits of personal freedom and the dangers of the internet. ARMIN MEIWES' case is a cautionary tale about the dangers of the internet and the potential for people to find others who share their twisted desires. It's a shocking reminder of the dark side of human nature. At number 2, ANDREI CHIKATILO, also known as the Butcher of Rostov. He was a Soviet serial killer who murdered and cannibalized at least 52 children and young adults. CHIKATILO was arrested in 1990 and sentenced to death, but his horrific crimes continue to shock and disgust people to this day. ANDREI CHIKATILO was a monster who preyed on the most vulnerable members of society. His crimes are a reminder of the evil that can lurk in the hearts of men. And finally, the most gruesome cannibal killer in history at number 1, Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the MILWAUKEE Cannibal. He murdered, cannibalized, and dismembered 17 young men and boys in the 1980s and 1990s. Dahmer would lure his victims to his apartment where he would drug them, and once they were unconscious, he would strangle them to death. In some instances, he would perform experiments on his victims in the attempt to turn them into sex zombies. He would also perform sexual acts with their corpses. When the police searched his apartment, they discovered several dismembered bodies and body parts, such as human skulls, as well as evidence of cannibalism and necrophilia. Jeffrey Dahmer was arrested in 1991 and sentenced to multiple life sentences, but the sheer brutality of his crimes still shock and disgust people to this day. Jeffrey Dahmer was a predator who preyed on vulnerable young men and boys. His crimes were some of the most heinous in modern history, and they continue to be studied and analyzed by criminologists and psychologists. These are the top 5 most gruesome cannibal killers in history. Their crimes were truly horrifying, and they serve as a reminder of the evil that can exist in the world. We can see patterns and warning signs that may help us identify potential cannibal killers before they can harm others. By understanding the motivations behind these crimes, we can work to prevent them from happening in the future. The victims of these cannibal killers will never be forgotten. They were innocent people who lost their lives to the twisted desires of a few individuals. And this brings us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and kindly click on the next video in front of you.